The new angel spread its wings amid a radiant halo. A voice echoed through the air. Now everyone is present. From below, the crowd of players looked up. Some were still panting from teleporting. In Ryuman's hand, the familiar knife appeared. His eyes watched the angel with caution. A series of yellow notification boards appeared floating before each player, their lights blinking continuously. Everyone looked confusedly at the new mission. The main task content for round 2 appeared. Choose a regional representative within the next 3 hours. The information also revealed a massive number of participants, over 900 million across all regions, with 5,143 in Ryuman's current area. No one had passed this round yet. Some players began whispering among themselves. Choose a regional representative? What does that mean? I thought we had to fight monsters again. Wait, look at the number who passed. None. So, if we choose a representative, do we all survive this round? The female angel, majestic and standing amid brilliant light, noticed the crowd's extreme confusion. A slight smile appeared as she softly spoke. It seems you need me to explain. She raised a finger, her voice resonating throughout the space. This round is not a battle round. You only need to choose a representative for your region. The angel continued, her eyes shining brightly. If you become the representative, you have absolute authority. You can order others to crawl or die. The declaration shocked the group listening. The crowd began reacting, some stunned, others fearful. A young man with silver-blue hair stood thoughtfully. Beside him, a muscular man with tattoos looked serious about the terrifying power just described. The angel spread her large white wings and continued. In 3 hours, you will vote. Just use that power to choose your regional representative. A young man with blue hair anxiously raised his hand to ask the angel, doubting that the mission was really that simple and that there was no hidden danger. The female angel smiled reassuringly, confirming that just voting counted as passing and that they would be able to return home. This was a rare rest round in the challenge. Many began rejoicing upon realizing they did not have to fight, only vote to survive. Amid the commotion, Ryuman remained silent, observing with a cold and serious expression. The angel announced everyone had 3 hours to discuss and select their regional representative, while a countdown clock appeared, marking the remaining time until voting. A young woman with long black hair smiled excitedly upon realizing that just voting meant survival, even feeling interested in becoming the representative to wield power. Hwang Yangman showed clear disappointment that this round had no fighting. He gritted his teeth, complaining that he was ready for a big battle. Yangman's purple-haired friend, a new character whose name was unknown, tried to soothe him. Yangman, come on, living by just voting is nothing to complain about. But Yangman remained angry because he had invested all his points into strength without a chance to use it. Ryuman observed from behind, realizing that Yangman had received a power rune, explaining his stat investment. Ryuman muttered, confirming, Hwang Yangman's rune and this situation. Everything is happening just like last time. As others began discussing who to vote for, Ryuman quietly left. He understood that the most important thing now was not voting. If there was a main mission, there would surely be side missions, and those were what Ryuman cared about. Ryuman confirmed the secret side mission of round 2, class selection. He needed to reach the required level to unlock a profession. He gripped the knife handle tightly with great determination. To unlock a class, Ryuman knew he had to reach level 10 very quickly. A hobgoblin appeared in the forest, with glowing red eyes and weapons ready. It was Ryuman's first target on his path to leveling up. Facing the enemy, Ryuman coldly challenged. The hobgoblin charged in a frenzy, but he calmly waited. Ryuman launched a lightning-fast counterattack with superior speed, creating a powerful wave of sharp slashes. The enemy was sliced apart in a dazzling blue light. Ryuman's attack was perfectly precise, finishing the monster in one strike. He landed on the ground in a skillful combat stance, his eyes cold and sharp, signaling the hunt had begun. A notification appeared. Ryuman had defeated a hobgoblin. EXP increased, gold received, and all stats increased by 1% thanks to Rune of Slaughter. Ryuman stood in the dark forest, the hobgoblin's corpse behind him. He confirmed, going deeper into the forest to hunt was the right choice. He gripped the knife tightly, alert. For Ryuman, wherever a goblin appeared, there were surely more nearby. The hunt had just begun. Pairs of glowing red eyes flashed in the darkness. A group of hobgoblins with terrifying forms silently advanced, ready to attack. Ryuman smirked coldly, unfazed by the large number of enemies appearing. Standing alone in the forest, Ryuman faced the approaching hobgoblin pack. In his eyes, this was not danger but an opportunity to level up. Without hesitation, Ryuman struck first. The lightning-fast blow took down a hobgoblin in an instant. Blood splattered as Ryumin's knife spun fiercely through the air. Another goblin fell. A notification appeared. Ryumin had killed the 5th hobgoblin. Current kill count, 5-100. Amidst the scattered goblin corpses, Ryumin stood firm. Rune of Slaughter activated, increasing all stats by 50%. He had leveled up. Looking at the remaining time before voting, Ryumin sighed softly and activated the status panel. Stat window. The interface clearly showed. Name Ryu Min, nickname Black Scythe, level 9, class not chosen. Hidden titles, first-time regressor, first-ever angel slayer. He had reached level 9 in just half an hour. Ryumin decided to invest all points into agility. For him, speed was more important than strength, because no matter how strong you are, if you can't dodge a critical hit, you will still die. Each stat affected different factors. Strength increased physical damage and stamina, intelligence influenced magic damage and spirit, agility helped dodge attacks and move flexibly. Ryu Min's status window appeared. He had allocated all remaining points into agility, reaching 30, while other stats remained at 4. Luck affected critical hit rate, item drops, and gold rewards. Ryu Min silently concluded, all were important. Ryu Min recalled the Reaper class, a character class using both physical and magical damage. To maximize power, all stats needed to be balanced. While thinking, Ryu Min suddenly turned his head. He sensed something unusual. He discovered someone was following him whom he hadn't noticed before because he was focused on fighting. This had never happened in previous regressions. Ryu Min drew his knife, sternly demanding the hidden person reveal themselves. Otherwise, they should be ready to face death. The forest fell into an eerie silence. Then, a faint sound echoed among the leaves. A figure stepped out. It was a young girl with long brown hair looking confused, hands raised. I'm here. Ryu Min recognized the girl, the actress he had met before. She was the one who had been following him, stepping out while quietly apologizing. The actress stepped out from the bushes, bowing her head to apologize for following Ryumin. She appeared embarrassed but sincere. A strange young man appeared beside her, speaking softly to reassure. They had no ill intentions, only following him for personal reasons. Ryumin recognized that person as Sanchial, a character he had known from previous rounds. Ryumin silently pondered, his eyes showing clear vigilance. Sanchial was once the right-hand man of Ma Jionrock in the past. A memory surfaced. Ma Jionrock was the eldest son of the country's largest conglomerate, famous by the nickname Heavenly Demon. Ryumin silently thought. Ma Jionrock was one of his main targets. If he could recruit him, becoming stronger would be easier. However, to achieve that, Ryumin also needed help from Priest, someone closely connected to Ma Jionrock, especially important in round 20. Ryumin recalled a past scene. The actress had appeared with a man in a suit, seemingly a bodyguard or close assistant. He began to suspect. It was very possible Ma Jionrock had sponsored her, as his company was known for backing artists. Although the purpose was unclear, Ryumin sensed the future was changing. He coldly asked, "How long have you been following me?" His eyes full of caution before the sudden events. The long-haired girl, Seoarin, explained that she and Sanchial had been following since they saw Ryu Min enter the forest. She bowed her head, apologizing for causing him discomfort. Ryu Min asked why they were following him. Sanchial affirmed they had no ill intent, only wanting to make a proposal. Arin cheerfully said Ryu Min had ranked first in round 1, so she wanted to make an offer. The offer was to form a team with Ryu Min. She hoped they could become teammates. Ryu Min gave a faint smile, questioning the idea of a team, and thought that concept only applied if the other person was useful to him. He firmly refused. He didn't need anyone and could still do well alone. He asked them not to waste his time anymore. Ryu Min turned his back and walked away without hesitation, affirming he had no intention of forming a group. Sanchial watched Ryumin's retreating figure, annoyed, muttering, "That guy is really arrogant." Arin collapsed, exhausted and disappointed after being bluntly rejected. Sanchial anxiously called out to her. After being harshly rejected by Ryu Min, Seoarin collapsed to the ground, breathless and suppressing her disappointment. Sanchial worriedly called her name, clearly showing concern for Arin's condition. Arin knelt down tiredly after Ryumin refused her team proposal. Her short, brown-haired companion anxiously called her name. Arin sighed, her eyes full of disappointment. She admitted Ryumin truly deserved to be the leader. His overwhelming aura made her feel afraid. She continued to express that the desire to team up with Ryumin had completely failed. Her face showed regret. Arin's companion responded frankly. He affirmed he had warned her. People like Ryumin have big egos and never cooperate in teams. Arin nodded in agreement. She admitted the real regret was not being rejected, but that they wasted time following Ryumin without expecting monsters in this forest. She suggested they use the remaining time to hunt them. Her companion agreed. He said that was a good idea, and together they stepped deeper into the forest to find new targets. Deep in the forest, a hobgoblin suddenly appeared, looking around cautiously. It seemed to sense something terrifying approaching. Ryumin rushed down from above, his knife shining sharply in hand. In his mind, he showed clear irritation at the team proposal because he was very busy focusing on leveling up. Ryumin swung his knife to attack the enemy. He believed the most important thing now was not teammates, but leveling up to become stronger. A notification appeared. Ryumin had defeated a hobgoblin. The total monsters he had killed reached 6,100. Thanks to Rune of Slaughter, all his stats increased by 60%. Hidden in the bushes, another creature silently observed him. As Ryumin had just defeated the hobgoblins, a new group of creatures emerged from the deep forest. The monsters, shaped like large wolves with glowing eyes, the gnolls, advanced fiercely. Ryumin was not afraid of the danger. On the contrary, he smiled excitedly seeing the large number of gnolls. For him, it was a great opportunity to level up quickly. The gnoll pack roared fiercely and charged simultaneously. Sharp teeth, claws, and large axes raised high, ready to tear apart their prey. In the sky, numerous gnolls jumped up together, forming a dense attack formation. They all struck down on Ryumin like a deadly rain. Ryumin calmly drew his weapon. A cold light flashed from his blade, a knife soaked with blood and killing intent, ready to sweep away the enemies. With just one slash, Ryumin spun and unleashed a horizontal slash skill. A blue light streaked through, cutting cleanly through the gnoll formation in the air. A notification appeared. Ryumin had killed more gnolls, raising his total kills to 65,100. Thanks to the Rune of Slaughter effect, all his stats had increased by 65%. Finally, an important notification appeared. Ryumin reached level 10, fulfilling the condition to choose a character class. His face was resolute as he walked slowly through the devastated battlefield, ready to enter a new phase. Ryumin officially reached level 10 after a fierce battle. The system notified him that he was eligible to change class, unlocked the shop, and activated a mysterious sub-quest. The sub-quest requires Ryumin to change class before the voting round begins. If completed, he will receive a 50% discount coupon for items of the day. Most players encountering this quest for the first time were confused because they didn't know how to obtain the class change item. Although they understood the importance of having a class, they were unclear about what to do to get the item. Players were anxious and puzzled. Some asked, "Where is the class change item?" while others didn't know how many classes there were. Chaos spread among the newcomers. Each class requires different conditions. For example, warriors must raise their strength stat to 10 and kill 30 monsters within an hour. For the berserker class, players must fight continuously while bleeding for an entire hour without resting. Assassins must ambush monsters multiple times from behind to meet the requirements. The system emphasized, only actions compatible with the class will help players receive the class change item. Ryumin recalled his past. Back then he often chased monsters and was always in a fleeing state. Thanks to that, he received the Hunter class. However, after learning about the existence of the Grim Reaper class, Ryumin focused solely on behaviors related to this class to activate the condition for receiving the class change item. He whispered the command "use" while holding the class change item. A dazzling light burst forth. The system confirmed that Ryumin had used the class change item. Ryumin did not hesitate when faced with the class change choice. He immediately pressed "yes," ready to embrace the new power he had long prepared for. A brilliant golden light surrounded Ryumin's body as the new class was activated. The Grim Reaper had officially awakened within him. The reward for changing class was the Grim Reaper's rune, a rare rune with special power, reserved exclusively for the Grim Reaper. This rune doubles damage when using a scythe, increases attack speed by 50% at night, and makes enemies harder to detect when he stands still at night. A perfect tool for a shadow assassin. Without any further action, the rune automatically engraved itself onto Ryumin. A sinister red smoke enveloped him, marking a turning point in his power. Next, he received the signature weapon, Grim Reaper's Scythe, a reward for the Grim Reaper class. This scythe was stored in his equipment inventory. After completing the subquest, Ryumin was rewarded with a 50% discount coupon and officially promoted from beginner to apprentice. He was no longer a rookie. Ryu Min's status screen appeared clearly. He held the title Black, was at level 10 with the Grim Reaper class, and ranked apprentice. His stats included Strength 4, Intelligence 4, Luck 4, and notably an outstanding Agility of 31. The two hidden titles he possessed were Last Time Regressor and First Ever Angel Slayer, proving he was no ordinary player. Ryu Min unlocked an exclusive skill, Seal of Death. It allows him to mark an enemy, see their remaining health, and deal an additional 100% damage. A deadly skill only the Grim Reaper possesses. Details of the weapon Grim Reaper's scythe were displayed. It is a rare, powerful weapon that accumulates damage with each slash, but only those ranked apprentice or higher can wield it. Ryu Min was also confirmed as the first person in the world to complete a class change. He received an additional special reward, a random bag of gold. As the first to change class, Ryu Min was awarded the common skill tracking by the system, a power that allows him to trace specific target footprints. This is not a combat skill but is extremely useful. Ryu Min immediately used tracking, calling out the name Hwang Yangmin. The interface confirmed that the face and nickname matched. The system began locating the target Hwang Yangmin. Hwang Yangmin's position was confirmed, only 190 meters away from Ryu Min. A guiding light arrow appeared to lead the way. Looking at the direction arrow, Ryu Min determined that Hwang Yangmin had gone deep into the forest. This was very different from the previous regression round, when Yangmin was 2,000 meters away. The change in position made Ryu Min think. He decided to follow the trail to check the situation, sensing something unusual. In another corner of the forest, a gray-haired young man and Aren were fleeing in exhaustion. Both were clearly injured and trying to escape the danger chasing them. Aren could no longer maintain her speed. She collapsed to the ground, her body weak, uttering words of pain. She trembled as she confessed that she could not run any further. Her legs could no longer bear it. Her companion hurriedly urged her on, worried about the approaching threat. The young man tried to lift Aren up, comforting her but with firmness. The arrow wounds were tormenting them both with burning pain, but they had no choice but to keep running. Sangchial tried to reassure Aren, saying that although injured in the other world, their real bodies in the real world would not be affected. As long as they survived, they could return. Aren nodded in acceptance of the advice, trying to stand despite the sharp pain from her wounds. But soon both were startled by an unusual sound behind them. A group of players approached, led by a muscular, dark-skinned man with a sinister smile. He mocked Aren, saying she wasn't injured enough to surrender. Sangchial gritted his teeth in anger, unable to hide his fury at being chased. He turned his anger onto Aren, blaming her for allowing them to be caught. Aren was stunned, her eyes filled with pain. The leader mocked Sangchial, calling him old man, and asked if he had the guts to fight his group. He continued to provoke, telling Sangchial to look carefully at the number of opponents, boasting that his side was overwhelmingly superior, himself and 3 others. A bald man with a knife, an archer, and a lightly armored man. Sangchial shouted angrily, asking why they attacked when he and Aren had done nothing wrong. The leader just uttered a dismissive huh, as if he didn't care. He smiled coldly, admitting that indeed Sangchial had done nothing wrong. But his expression showed no intention of stopping. Sangchial continued trembling as he asked why they kept attacking others. The absurdity and cruelty of this game became increasingly clear. The young man angrily asked the attacking group why they acted this way, affirming that he and Aren had done nothing wrong. The leader of the attacking group smiled maliciously, admitting they had done nothing wrong but still continued the pursuit. When asked why they attacked others, the leader casually replied, "To obtain something." He coldly pointed out their real target. "The woman beside you, Seo Aren herself." Aren froze in fear. The man confirmed, "We have nothing against you. The target is Seo Aren." The first time her name was spoken by an enemy. 3 accomplices confirmed Aren's identity. Although one suspected she might be an imposter, another laughed gleefully. "As long as the body matches, it's enough." One in the group laughed cruelly, emphasizing that what they cared about was only Aren's body, making her shudder in fear. The leader blatantly proposed, "Hand over Seo Aren to us and we will spare your life." The situation became extremely tense. The male lead angrily thought to himself, "If I had known she was the target from the start, I would have left." But inside, he felt torn. He silently thought he didn't intend to risk his life for Aren, but what made him hesitate was, if he couldn't protect her, Chairman Ma Jeongrok would be disappointed. The image of Jeongrok appeared, emphasizing the heavy pressure on him. The gray-haired young man, who was protecting Seo Aren, spoke up, criticizing the opposing group's actions as a serious crime. However, that accusation made the other group burst into mocking laughter. The atmosphere became tense and heavy. The leader, a muscular man with spiked hair, sneered, saying there were no laws here, and challenged the young man to say what he would do after returning. He continued to mock, asking for proof if he intended to accuse. What if this was not his real face? The young man gritted his teeth and endured. Though furious, he had to admit the other was right. There were no clear rules here. He knew threats would not sway them. At that moment, he prepared himself to fight despite being injured. At the climax, the young man's eyes lit up. He recognized someone familiar. He shouted in surprise, "Aren't you?" A new character appeared, a tall, black-haired man leaning against a tree trunk, his gaze cold. He was called Black Scythe. The leader was shocked to see him. He stepped back, silently wondering, when did he arrive? Black Scythe remained unshaken, stepped forward and asked the group, "What are you doing here?" The atmosphere immediately changed. The aggressive leader signaled for Black Scythe to stay out of it. But he coldly replied that he wasn't asking for his opinion, then tilted his head to observe the situation. The brown-red-haired young man immediately pleaded for help, saying they were attacked because the others targeted cohort. He earnestly begged Black Scythe for assistance and promised to repay him. Black Scythe did not respond immediately, only clicking his tongue quietly in silence, his sharp eyes fixed on the enemies. Black Scythe asked again to verify the information, but the leader stubbornly told him not to care, with an arrogant attitude. Stepping forward, Black Scythe retorted coldly, "How is this not my concern?" Then affirmed that he knew well the two were attacked. The atmosphere turned tense as dark red energy began to spread. The leader showed clear fear, urgently asking Black Scythe what he intended to do. Black Scythe summoned his weapon, a large black scythe surrounded by blazing red energy, standing in front of cohort and the brown-red-haired young man. With a determined gaze, Black Scythe declared, "I cannot abandon them when they are injured." His reason for intervening was not mere compassion, but a principle he absolutely would not break. A thug was startled, terrified by the swirling red aura surrounding him. He stammered, "You, what are you planning to do?" In the heart of the blazing red vortex, Black Scythe appeared, holding a giant scythe, his gaze cold. Behind him, cohort and Sanctial stood silently watching. He thought, "I can't abandon them while they're injured." Arin and Sanctial breathed a sigh of relief, beaming. Both called out Black Scythe's name in unison with gratitude. "Thank you." Black Scythe calmly stood in the formation, his eyes resolute. In his heart he admitted, "I didn't act without expecting some benefit from this." Black Scythe thought further. If he could save Ma Jeongrok's right hand, he could build a close relationship with this powerful chaebol. Recalling the image of Ma Jeongrok in a cold black suit, Black Scythe imagined, "If Jeongrok owes me, the reward afterward will be huge." Back in the present, Black Scythe stepped toward the group of thugs with the scythe in hand. He silently thought, "Actually, I never liked these guys from the start." The leader panicked and shouted loudly when he saw Black Scythe approaching. "What the hell are you doing? Don't come any closer, we'll kill you." Black Scythe was silent, his gaze determined. Without a trace of fear, he stood firm before the enemy. He smirked slightly, his voice low and threatening. "What, don't want to fight me?" The bullying leader angrily thought to himself that Ryu Min's question was ridiculous. He trembled, recalling the terrifying speed when Ryu Min slashed down goblins in an instant. The image of Ryu Min delivering an extremely fast strike appeared clearly in his mind. The scythe pierced through a goblin, leaving a cold streak of light on the grass. The leader remained haunted by the fact that Ryu Min ranked first in the previous round. Proof that he was definitely not an ordinary person. One of the henchmen, pale-faced with wide eyes. Fear spread. No one in the group dared to step forward. Ryu Min calmly stood before them, the scythe planted in the ground. He said coldly, "Be honest if you don't want to fight." The leader was silent for a long moment. Finally, he cautiously asked, "If I'm honest, will you spare us?" Ryu Min crossed his arms and smiled sarcastically. "I'll consider it. Who knows? If you all kneel down and beg for mercy." The leader was stunned. Shame rose within him. Does he really want me to bow and beg in front of everyone? He turned his head to glance behind, where his comrades and cohort were watching. The thought of humiliation made him grit his teeth. He muttered to himself, "Better not cause trouble with him. But damn it, he's provoking me." Meanwhile, Ryu Min stood calmly, his red eyes shining with ruthlessness and superiority. Hwang Yangmin froze, suddenly struck by a bold thought as his sharp gaze fixed on Ryu Min, Black Scythe. In a flashback, Yangmin recalled how he once easily punched through a wall. With that extraordinary strength, he was confident he could defeat Black Scythe with a single punch. A smirk appeared at the corner of his mouth, a satisfied smile clear as if he already had a plan for a counterattack. Yangmin laughed angrily, shouting that Black Scythe was crossing the line while his friends behind him showed obvious fear. Unable to contain his anger, he yelled loudly, growling back, "You want me to kneel and beg?" The rage turned into a scheme. Yangmin planned to approach and then deliver a deadly punch to Black Scythe's face. He suddenly lunged forward, fist aimed straight at Ryu Min's head, believing the opponent wouldn't react in time. Yangmin smiled confidently, believing no one could survive a punch strong enough to crush a wall. But at that moment, Ryu Min's hand began to glow. He summoned his weapon, a black scythe radiating a brilliant red aura from his palm. A teammate shouted in panic, "What are you doing?" Unable to believe Ryu Min was putting away his weapon in such a dangerous situation, Ryu Min gently explained the reason for retracting his weapon. A bare-handed fight would be fairer. For him, an easy victory was no fun. The muscular thug laughed mockingly, thinking Ryu Min was joking with him. Suddenly, Ryu Min dashed forward like the wind, catching his opponent off guard. He closed in at an unimaginable speed, leaving the muscular thug stunned. The muscular thug thought Ryu Min was foolish to throw himself into the tiger's mouth unarmed. Ryu Min charged with determined eyes. He shouted, "Die!" and swung a deadly punch. He threw the punch with all his strength, believing this strike would take down Ryu Min in one hit. His eyes widened in shock as he realized his opponent had vanished from sight. At that moment, Ryu Min appeared at his side, delivering a powerful kick to his body. The kick was so strong it sent his body flying, causing the onlookers behind to panic and quickly retreat. After the powerful strike that sent the group flying, Ryu Min calmly sat down under a tree, gently retracting his scythe into the air. His gaze was calm, as if the fight was just a warm-up. Hwang Yangmin, who had been arrogant before, now lay sprawled on the ground, groaning in pain. He clenched his fists, fury erupting in bitter curses. Struggling to lift his head, Yangmin gritted his teeth, eyes filled with anger and confusion. But before he could say more, Ryu Min calmly interrupted. "Stop cursing." Ryu Min stepped closer, his shadow casting long over his opponent. A strong kick landed, making Yangmin scream in pain. "My ears are rotting from all this cursing," Ryu Min said coldly. Yangmin forced himself up, covering his face with trembling hands as he saw Ryu Min approaching. Despite his panic, he couldn't help but look up with fearful eyes. Immediately after, Ryu Min grabbed Yangmin's collar and effortlessly lifted him up. Ryu Min's strength seemed to compress the very air around them. A storm of punches rained down. Ryu Min gave Yangmin no chance to react, unleashing a series of blows with the speed and power of thunder striking the arrogant foe. Yangmin was completely stunned. "These aren't punches, it's like being hit by a hammer," he thought while trying to endure the waves of pain. In his shocked mind, Yangmin silently admitted, "This guy is as strong as me." He was stunned by Ryu Min's blazing red eyes and overwhelming aura. Even with the muscular strength rune doubling his power, Yangmin was overwhelmed. He was amazed. "He doesn't have a rune like me. How can he be this strong?" Ryu Min narrowed his eyes, his cold gaze sensing something unusual approaching. A group of 3 opposing players, led by a brown-haired young man in light armor, shouted, "Yangmin, target him!" ordering the dark purple-haired archer to prepare to attack Ryu Min. From afar, a long brown-haired girl with orange eyes, an ally of Ryu Min, shouted in panic, "Black Scythe, dodge!" Ryu Min immediately reacted, dodging the incoming arrow. The trembling purple-haired archer drew his bow, screaming in panic, "D-die!" and fired another arrow at Ryu Min. Ryu Min landed firmly, his gaze resolute, ready to counterattack. He moved at extreme speed, creating multiple afterimages, easily dodging all the arrows shot at him. Ryu Min closed in on the purple-haired archer in the blink of an eye, coldly mocking, "You're lucky you only have to shoot monsters." His eyes turned sharp and cold, his hand summoning a black scythe radiating fierce black and red energy. He continued with a sinister smile, "But unlucky for you, you met me." The scythe swung in a blood whirl, ending the enemy in an instant. Ryu Min finished, "That means your luck has run out." Ryu Min struck powerfully with the scythe, severing the arm of the black-haired male archer. The man panicked, blood splattering before he could react. The male archer screamed in pain, clutching his severed arm as blood pooled on the ground. Horror was clear on his face. The 2 remaining comrades, the one in light armor and the bald man, shouted angrily. They refused to accept Ryu Min injuring their teammate and decided to retaliate. The bald man roared wildly, throwing a knife at Ryu Min with all his strength, shouting threats. Ryu Min calmly stood still, scythe in hand, ready. Ryu Min smirked, his gaze cold. He responded to the threat with absolute confidence, "I don't think so." As soon as he finished speaking, Ryumin activated a special skill, Seal of Death. A seal shaped like an eye with a blazing red skull symbol appeared above the bald man's head. Dark power radiated around Ryumin. He gripped the scythe's handle tightly, red energy fiercely enveloping his body as a sign of impending death. Ryumin delivered a critical strike. With the scythe soaked in killing intent, he spun and unleashed a powerful slash, destructive force engulfing the entire battlefield. Ryumin swung the blazing red scythe, unleashing a powerful slash full of deadly intent. The entire scene was engulfed in the lethal energy surrounding him. The bald man, one of the attackers, was caught off guard and struck directly. The blazing slash swept across his body like the blade of death passing over its target. A painful scream echoed. The bald man collapsed to the ground, his legs severed, blood gushing out amid the horror of his comrades. The light brown-haired man, one of the two remaining, exclaimed in panic, "His leg!" His body trembled at the horrific sight before him. Ryumin did not give his opponent time to recover. He leapt forward, raising his scythe, closing in on the next target with overwhelming speed. He pressed close to the light brown-haired man, coldly saying, "Carrying a weapon but advancing on others, you have to face the consequences, right?" The blood-soaked scythe swung up. A fatal strike cut through the light brown-haired man's body amid a roaring scream in the forest. Under the effect of the Seal of Death, skill, Ryumin realized the attack had pierced through the armor. He confirmed the double damage effect was working perfectly. The remaining scene was three enemies lying groaning on the ground, drenched in blood. Ryumin stood coldly watching them, feeling this victory was too easy. Still, Ryumin told himself, "I can't end here." His eyes showed determination for the next plans. Ryumin tightened his grip on the scythe, his cold gaze fixed on the surviving enemies. In his mind, he was clear. He had to sow deep fear in them so they would never dare return. One of them lay convulsing on the ground, his leg mangled and soaked in blood. The painful groans continued without end. The bald man screamed in despair, begging Ryumin to stop. He had only one leg left and was almost unable to move. The armored man groaned, his face filled with extreme panic. Blood soaked his hands and shoulders. He begged for mercy, clinging to a shred of hope to survive. Ryumin showed no mercy. He looked down at the begging man and coldly declared, "Don't complain. That means you're not dead yet." The crowd behind him witnessed the scene with clear fear. Ryumin sighed and turned around. For him, these were done. His gaze shifted to the next target in the forest. A close-up of Ryumin's blood-red eyes. A cold, sharp gaze that gave no enemy an escape route. Leaning against a tree trunk, Ryumin said coldly, "Running is useless." Behind the tree, a muscular man was startled when discovered. He was the last one in the group hunting Arin. Before he could react, Ryumin swung his scythe. The blade sliced fiercely through the air with a judgmental phrase, "No one is exempt." A cold slash tore through the tree trunk and everything behind it. The muscular man panicked, eyes wide with impending death. The muscular man hiding behind the tree screamed in terror as Ryumin, black scythe, coldly struck, the scythe cutting through his body without hesitation. Ryumin stepped forward, eyes blazing red, uttering harsh words, "Don't cry like a child." Dark memories suddenly surfaced. In the past, Ryumin had been bullied and brutally tormented by a group of male students, under mocking and humiliating gazes. Compared to what he had endured, Ryumin considered the current pain meaningless. He swung his scythe to continue punishing the trembling, muscular man. The man's pitiful scream echoed, shaking two nearby players as well. Two people, a long brown-haired girl and a brown-gray-haired male student, witnessed the cruel act. They could not hide their shock. The brown-gray-haired young man, a new character already identified, was astonished. Ryumin had just cut off both arms of a man who had completely lost the will to fight. Although Ryumin seemed ruthless in his eyes, that calmness and rationality were very admirable. He silently called Ryumin Black Scythe, and admitted that he was strong enough to rival even Ma Jeonggrak, known as President. The brown-gray-haired student approached and asked Ryumin, "Are you okay?" Ryumin calmly replied, "Yeah, thanks to you." Ryumin reassured his two companions, saying that the enemies were now incapable of fighting. The only thing they could do was vote. The brown-haired girl and the brown-haired young man bowed their heads to thank Ryumin, also known as Black Scythe, for saving them from the attacking group. The brown-haired girl anxiously asked Ryumin if leaving the enemies in that state would cause them to die. Ryumin indifferently replied, "If they die, so what? They're no different from beasts." Seeing the girl's weak and worried expression, Ryumin silently judged her to be too kind-hearted in this brutal situation. Ryumin wondered why she cared about the lives of the enemies. Was she a saint, or just trying to maintain her image as a celebrity? The brown-haired young man politely asked Ryumin a question. He straightforwardly questioned, Why did you spare them? In this other world, there's nothing stopping you from killing more. The defeated enemy, the muscular man, widened his eyes in fear upon hearing that question, realizing his life was hanging in the balance. The young man continued expressing concern that those enemies might cause trouble in the future, advising Rumen to be more decisive. The bald man and the gray-haired man, the only two survivors after the encounter with Black Scythe, trembled as they crawled on the ground, their bodies covered in blood. In panic, the gray-haired man repeated what he had just heard. Cause trouble. Black Scythe smiled sarcastically, responding with contempt. He didn't believe those wrecks had enough strength to cause trouble. To him, they were no longer worth worrying about. Black Scythe continued explaining. Eliminating the weak brought no benefit. It only reduced the total number of players, thereby limiting the survival slots for the capable ones. The brown-haired young man who accompanied Aaron suddenly recognized the logic in Black Scythe's argument. He silently admitted, "He's right. Fewer players means fewer spots to advance." That thought made the young man admire him even more. He couldn't believe Black Scythe cared about such small details in the game system. His knowledge was extraordinary. Finally, both Aaron and his companion nodded in agreement. They declared they would no longer care about the trash bags, referring to the defeated ones lying dying behind them. Black Scythe turned his back and left. He decisively said goodbye without lingering. However, the brown-haired young man hurriedly called after him, "Wait, Black Scythe." The young man ran after him, wanting to ask for his account to repay his benefactor. But Black Scythe didn't want any reward. He coldly replied, "No need." Aaron and his friend watched Black Scythe's figure gradually disappear into the deep forest. They felt admiration rising within them. The one who helped them asked for nothing in return. The brown-haired young man decided that after returning, he must report everything to President, the one called Ma Jiongra. A muscular man groaned in fear upon seeing Hwang Yangmin standing before him. Yangmin was angry but recalled Black Scythe's words. Although he wanted to kill these enemies, he restrained his anger knowing it would bring no benefit. The injured enemy still tried to appear defiant, spitting and glaring. Though exhausted, his eyes still held hatred. Co. Aaron and the teammates rescued by Rumen left the area. At the same time, another crowd of players was gathering and shouting to call for voting to select a representative for this round. In the crowd, an argument broke out between two players, one skinny and one fat, as both ran for the representative position. They began insulting and provoking each other. The crowd jostled, with some trying to stop the two who were about to fight. A few other players spoke up, advising them to cooperate instead of causing trouble. A bespectacled young man stepped forward to speak. He argued that easily provoked people were not qualified to be representatives and asserted that he was more suitable. Everyone began to focus their attention on him. Suddenly, a chubby player cut in and proudly declared that his father was a member of parliament. He claimed that this made him worthy of being the group's representative. The son of the parliamentarian's statement immediately met strong reactions. The surrounding players questioned his transparency and reliability, making the situation even more chaotic. The atmosphere became tense as everyone argued fiercely. All eyes focused on the parliamentarian's son amid a suffocating and suspicious mood. At that moment, a young man with blue hair, called Mint Chalk Man, stepped forward to calm the crowd and reminded them there were only 2 hours left before voting ended. He urged everyone to stop arguing and focus on voting seriously. While the group was still fiercely debating about electing a representative, someone asked, "How do we choose the right person to vote for?" Another turned to ask Mint Chalk Man if he had any solution. Mint Chalk Man smiled and confidently affirmed, "Yes, there is a very effective solution for this." Under the crowd's attention, Mint Chalk Man kept a calm smile. People began whispering, showing curiosity. He signaled and said, "Everyone be quiet." The confidence in his voice made the atmosphere serious. Mint Chalk Man slightly curled his lips with meaning. In his mind, he thought, "They are listening very attentively to what I say." He clearly realized that his influence over the crowd was increasing noticeably. Mint Chalk Man's eyes gleamed with a strange green hue as dozens around him began paying close attention to his every word. With satisfaction, he confirmed in his mind, "Just as expected, it's working again," thanks to Rune of Persuasion, a special mark that helps him control the crowd through speech. Mint Chalk Man stood before the crowd, realizing the effectiveness of Rune of Persuasion, as everyone listened attentively and showed agreement. Recalling the past, Mint Chalk Man was once disappointed when he received the first rune fragment, a strange glowing gem whose purpose he did not understand. The rune was identified as Rune of Persuasion, which enhances the ability to persuade others but is useless against monsters or higher-level opponents. Mint Chalk Man was discouraged, thinking it was useless in combat. However, in actual battle, Mint Chalk Man quickly recognized the strategic potential of this rune when witnessing the chaotic situation on the battlefield. Seeing a woman in danger, Mint Chalk Man loudly called on the group to change their target, using the rune to influence everyone's behavior. His call immediately took effect. A group of people, despite overpowering goblins, turned around to rescue the woman. Mint Chalk Man silently took advantage of the situation. While others left the dying goblins behind, he rushed in to finish them off and accumulate kills. He smiled coldly, clearly scheming. If he continued to use the rune wisely, becoming the regional representative was within reach. Back in the present, Mint Chalk Man urged everyone to select candidates before proceeding with the election, continuing to steer the situation to his advantage. He proposed choosing about 5 people as official candidates, then voting among them, a strategic move to control the election outcome. Some players agreed with Mint Chalk Man's proposal to select candidates before voting. They believed that if everyone self-nominated, nothing would be accomplished. Mint Chalk Man called on everyone to start nominating candidates. Anyone with a suitable person should raise their hand to introduce them. A chubby player with grayish mouse-colored hair quickly raised his hand. Mint Chalk Man immediately stopped him, reminding that self-nomination was not allowed. The chubby player showed frustration at being denied the right to self-nominate, clearly expressing his disappointment and ambition for power. Mint Chalk Man appeared calm and agreed with the rule, but in his mind was a series of calculations. He regarded persuading the crowd as a simple game, smiling with contempt. Meanwhile, another player hesitated, unsure whom to nominate. Although unfamiliar with anyone, he did not want others to get ahead. Mint Chalk Man noticed everyone was silent. He knew that if no one nominated anyone, the most prominent person himself would naturally become a candidate. As predicted, a player raised his hand and nominated Mint Chalk Man as a candidate. His face lit up with a satisfied smile. Bingo. Another agreed, saying Mint Chalk Man had leadership skills and logical thinking, very suitable to be a representative. Mint Chalk Man feigned surprise. Me. Another added that Mint Chalk Man had actually been leading everyone from the start. He continued to pretend humility but secretly laughed, calling them fools. Mint Chalk Man smiled gratefully when nominated, then gently asked if anyone wanted to nominate others. A hand went up and that person said, "I nominate Black Scythe." Mint Chalk Man thought nominating Black Scythe made sense since he topped the previous round. With a fake smile, he said, "All right, Tilda." 2 others continued nominating. "I nominate Life is a Documentary, who ranked second last round." Then I nominate Black Flame Dragon in Hand, who ranked third. Mint Chalk Man announced there were 4 candidates, with only 1 spot left. He asked if anyone wanted to nominate more, but the crowd was silent. Since no one nominated further, Mint Chalk Man decided to finalize the list at 4. He suggested each candidate speak before voting. Mint Chalk Man raised his hand to volunteer to speak first. Inside, he was confident that manipulating this foolish crowd was as easy as turning his hand. He began his speech with a promise. "If I become the regional represent," but an angry shout cut him off. "That's utterly ridiculous." Mint Chalk Man was surprised and turned around, his gaze fixed on a person stepping forward with an angry expression. That person is. It was Life is a Documentary, a muscular young man with light brown hair and a black tattoo on his neck. He strode forward with a determined look in his eyes. His face flushed red with anger. Life is a Documentary shouted loudly, "I can't stand your nonsense anymore." Mint Chalk Man calmly asked Life is a Documentary the reason for the disturbance. In response, Life is a Documentary cut him off with a rude remark, showing a defiant attitude. Life is a Documentary sarcastically said that Mint Chalk Man thought the world could be controlled with just a few words, implying manipulation of speech by his opponent. Mint Chalk Man was surprised and suspected that Life is a Documentary might have realized his mind manipulation skill, but he was still uncertain. Life is a Documentary continued to criticize Mint Chalk Man, loudly questioning who he was to decide who would be the regional representative, calling him a hypocrite. Mint Chalk Man remained calm, responding politely but with hidden meaning, criticizing Life is a Documentary for his rude speech and cleverly counterattacking with words. However, Mint Chalk Man's manipulation skill had no effect this time. Life is a Documentary was furious, swearing and charging forward, leaving Mint Chalk Man stunned. Life is a Documentary went mad, harshly asking if Mint Chalk Man was trying to teach him a lesson, then threatened to kill him if he continued. Mint Chalk Man was shocked to realize his skill was ineffective. He doubted it, but could not believe it was true. Life is a documentary turned to threaten the whole group. He shouted, forcing everyone to vote for him if they didn't want to die, showing dictatorship and overpowering with violence. Mint Chalk Man silently watched, bitterly muttering that the opponent was truly stupid. He seemed to be preparing a new move. Mint Chalk Man smiled and continued to gently rebut the bully. He emphasized that rude speech would not make anyone listen, then advised the opponent to be ashamed and get out of the way. The brown-haired bully initially fell silent, appearing hesitant. Mint Chalk Man's confidence seemed to temporarily make him falter. However, in a fit of rage, he suddenly pulled out a knife and stabbed Mint Chalk Man, shocking those around. Blood splattered everywhere. Mint Chalk Man's eyes widened in shock, speechless. He could not believe he was attacked in broad daylight. Blood spurted from Mint Chalk Man's mouth and chest. He fell to the ground, dying. The bully coldly declared he had warned before, no obedience meant death. Mint Chalk Man groaned in pain, his eyes sparkling with horror in his final moments. The bully turned to the crowd, raising the bloodied knife. He declared that anyone who did not vote for him would meet the same fate as Mint Chalk Man. The crowd panicked. Someone shouted, "He killed Mint Chalk Man!" Fear spread everywhere. Horrified screams of "Murderer!" echoed. Facing the angry reaction, the bully only laughed coldly, raising the blood-soaked knife and challenging, "So what? If you're brave, come complain." Rage and terror engulfed the crowd. Someone pointed and shouted loudly, "He's crazy, truly insane." The brown-haired bully laughed coldly, covered in blood, threatening that if no one came to him, he would seek out each person himself. He charged into the crowd, slashing at panicked players. Blood flowed everywhere, screams echoed throughout the forest. With wild eyes and a blood-soaked face, the bully shouted in ecstasy. No police, no cameras, this was a killing paradise. Amid the terrified crowd, he stood like a demon in hell, declaring, "I can kill as many as I want." He pointed the blade at everyone, bluntly declaring, "Anyone who does not vote for him will be the target killed in the next round." The crowd fell silent in fear. The brown-haired female player and others looked worried, their eyes full of unease. The bully was confident he would be elected because everyone was terrified. But he did not expect. Ryu Min, Black Scythe, had his eyes on him. Black Scythe appeared with eyes cold as steel. He decided, the first target to kill must be that arrogant bully. He had just reached level 16 thanks to the effect of Rune of Slaughter, doubling stats and receiving a triple EXP buff. Yet Ryumin was still not satisfied. Although he had killed 200 monsters in 2 hours, Ryumin only leveled up 6 times. He realized, leveling up had become much more difficult. Ryu Min continued hunting monsters in the forest, noticing that hunting had become much easier thanks to possessing 2 powerful runes, Rune of Slaughter and Grim Reaper's Rune. Both runes doubled all his stats and weapon damage. As a result, Ryu Min's monster-killing speed and experience accumulation far surpassed other players. Feeling the time had come, Ryu Min tightened his scythe's handle. A bright golden light radiated from his hand, signaling an upcoming event. The system portal appeared, announcing all players would be teleported back to the starting point to vote. In the magical light, Ryu Min prepared to enter the next round of the game.